The Wednesday Night War may be over, but on a Tuesday night, there were a lot of victories had as the black and gold gave a nod to the past and looked ahead to the future. They're good at that, mainly. This is NXT Graded. The new NXT Champion Karrion Kross opens the show. He gives a nod to Finn Balor, but says his time was always coming back. He says nobody is going to out-train, out-wrestle, or out-grind him. He is going to fold everyone until there is no one left. He says at the end, everybody pays the toll. It's a B+ to start us off. It's a short, simple, succinct, and powerful message from Karrion Kross. It's great to see him walking out to the NXT ring with the championship on his shoulder and not a sling over the other. I'm really intrigued to see what Karrion Kross will do at top of the NXT mountain. The first match on a Tuesday night for a long while is the NXT tag team titles being defended. MSK put them on the line against Killian Dain and Drake Maverick. Dain and Drake have an early advantage that's shut down very early on when Drake gets isolated by MSK. You will have heard some boos during this match, and unfortunately it's the case. Whenever you're in there with Drake Maverick, you are immediately the heel, especially if you're going to work over Drake Maverick. Dain, whenever he gets the tag in, he manages to turn the tide a little bit, but then Drake will come in and it will get shut down again. At one point, Dain overpowers Wesley when he gets tagged in. He catches him on a dive outside the ring and drives him into the apron. After the break, we see Drake back in the ring, and yes, Drake getting worked over once again. He gets the tag to Dain, and Dain ends up getting double teamed by MSK for a good long while. The challengers come back into this. Dain goes to powerbomb Drake Maverick onto Carter. However, Wesley pulls Carter out of the way, so Dain just powerbombs his tag partner instead. Soon after this, we see Drake succumb to the end transmission, that blockbuster heart attack move, what MSK do, and they get the 3. They retain their titles. Post-match, after MSK are long gone, Alexander Wolf leading Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel hit the ring, and Imperium batter Killian Dain. What's that all about? I guess we'll find out soon. It's a B. It's a lovely way to open the show. MSK getting a few boos here, but again, that's down to being in there with Drake Maverick and Killian Dain, who are very popular. But otherwise, solid match to get us started on a Tuesday. We get a recap of the unsanctioned match between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly from TakeOver Night 2, and afterwards, we see footage of them being taken to a nearby medical facility. Unintentional comedy comes from this, where we get CCTV footage from inside the medical facility of Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly being wheeled in. And as they're being wheeled in, Adam Cole is just shouting at Kyle O'Reilly, going, "You're dead, I'm going to kill you, I hate you, I'm going to bite your legs off." And William Regal's walking behind them, a bit like the dad that's just been called at 3 a.m. to be asked to come to the police station to pick up his kids. I don't think they meant this to be unintentionally funny, but it was. Watch it, it made me laugh. Mercedes Martinez in action next against Jessi Kamea. Mercedes Martinez earlier on today wanted her money from Robert Stone, and she threatened to basically punch a hole in Aliyah to get it. Jessi Kamea sized up Martinez. I didn't realise how tall Jessi Kamea was. She dwarfs Martinez and said, "Hey, let's have a fight later on and settle this." So they are. Jessi Kamea has got half her gear as like cow print. Jessi Kamea, apparently. It was a strange choice. Jessie's impressive here, to be fair. She gets a lot in on Mercedes Martinez, but once she voids a top rope move, Martinez lands a big running knee and the air raid crash for the 1, 2, 3. Post-match, Martinez shakes down Robert Stone for the money that she's owed, and then she calls out Raquel Gonzalez via the announcers for a match down the road for the NXT Women's Championship. C+ here. It was good. It was a short, sharp segment designed to remind us how powerful and impressive Mercedes Martinez is, and to get over Jessi Kamea a little bit as well. Isaiah Swerve Scott from his recording studio puts himself over, as he is wont to do. He says that after tonight, the The Swerve Leon business is done, and he's going to focus on becoming a star instead. They've got a match later on tonight. Santos Escobar out next, and he says he is going to prove himself to be the greatest Cruiserweight champion ever, like his father was before him, and like his son will be in times to come. He throws out an open challenge to anybody who wants a shot at the Cruiserweight title before he's even finished the announcement. Kushida is out there and up in his grill. It's Kushida and Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight title immediately. Kushida has Santos on the bounce from the off. Even has time to do a little showcase to Jushin Thunder Liger with Santos outside the ring. Kushida hits a springboard dive and then does this whole thing, which is the one that Liger did. Not to be confused with the Hogan one. This one is better. It turns. Escobar takes control during the break, smashing Kushida's shoulder into the steel steps. Puts a lion tamer on him on the steel steps as well, which, as we know, if you do a wrestling move on top of a larger surface, a higher surface, it is more painful. Kushida pushes back with a palm strike and a cravat superplex. However, Santos gets a foot on the rope to avoid the end of the match prematurely here. Escobar nails a backstabber as Kushida's coming at him with a springboard back elbow. This leads Kushida to rolling through a phantom driver, a series of roll-ups and near falls back and forth until Kushida really bears down on a roll-up, on a victory roll for the 1, 2, 3. And just like that, Kushida is the new Cruiserweight champion. We get steam on the apron and Kushida on the ground, kicking his legs up in the air, delighted with holding the Cruiserweight championship. This was an A. What an excellent match just to chuck at us on a Tuesday night. Wonderful chemistry between Santos Escobar and Kushida. Wonderful stuff. And a genuine delight to see Kushida holding a championship in NXT. I'm super happy with this. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher are back together, reunited, and it feels so good. And they are focused on MSK and the tag team titles, it seems. No hint on whether or not Thatcher may still join Imperium. I still think he might. Wink. Kushida is approached in the trainers area by Jordan Devlin, who says that, hey, Kushida, you're lucky that I've got to fly back because I want a shot at that championship. And that's a match that we'll probably have down the road. OTT shirt being worn. One of the greatest wrestling promotions in all of Ireland. Over the Top Wrestling. Nice to see them getting a nod here. I liked it a lot. Raquel Gonzalez heads out to the ring next. Introduced by Dakota Kai. It is time to say hello to your new NXT champion. This feels very babyface because Raquel Gonzalez puts over how hard she's worked to get to where she is. She puts over Io Shirai, and she puts over Dakota Kai for believing in her and recognizing her, saying the Gonzalez era has begun. This brings out the debutant, Franky Monet, along with dog underarm. That dog, bless. I'd be terrified to bring like, I love Pablo, but I'd be terrified to bring him out to the CWC. He'd leg it. We'd never see him again. But this dog, bless him, just being held by Franky the whole while through. Franky says that the women's division just got a lot bougier and a lot better. And basically Gonzalez says it in a nicer way, but she says, "You're glad I'm in a good mood tonight because if I wasn't, I'd shove that dog up your ass." She says in a nicer way. Franky then realises that potentially she may get a dog up her bum, so she leaves and says, "I will see you every Tuesday," which is almost an Adam Pacitti stream on Twitch. Almost. And she realises there's a lawsuit coming if she says, "See you next Tuesday." Out she goes with Franky Monet. Suddenly, Rhea Ripley's music hits. Here comes the new Raw Women's Champion. Obviously, Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez have had their beef on NXT, and they end up clanging belts and hugging. It's a lovely moment. And then, whoopah! I'm on the roll against the world. It's Bianca Belair, the new SmackDown Women's Champion. She's come home to NXT. All three embrace in the ring as a photo appears behind them of all three of them hanging out together, and they all raise their respective championship belts. I'm giving this whole segment an A, and it's really just because it was a real feel-good, warm moment for NXT. They do a wonderful job of building the future, but they also do a wonderful job of reflecting on their past. And this was a lovely moment to see all three women who are all part of the history of NXT now together and all champions. Think about this, right? For Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, the last time they stood in a ring together outside of the Royal Rumble, obviously they were the final two in the Royal Rumble, which was amazing, but before that it was NXT TakeOver Portland, before the world shut down. So it's just nice to have them all together again. I thought that was a really lovely moment. Nice nod to the past. Great look ahead to the future. And having Franky Monet in the mix as well, I think that again reinforces that point that we're proud of our past, but we're all about building what's coming up next. And I liked it a lot. I feel like if they'd done this segment on Monday Night Raw, you would have had Franky Monet come out and then all three champions beat her up, which would have been counterintuitive. But what we had instead was Franky Monet appearing, doing a bit, heading off, and then we do the celebration. It was the right order. Pete Dunne says that he is the best technical wrestler in the world today, and he's challenging anybody to prove him wrong, and he's after championship gold soon, so maybe we'll see him in a championship match very, very soon. Can he compete for the Cruiserweight title? I know he's the Bruiserweight, but is he the Cruiserweight? Just because he had that thing with Kushida, a takeover, do we continue that? Putting that out there. We then get, actually I'd rather be the NXT champion, I'll be honest. We then get the announcement that Sarray is making her NXT debut next week. It is years in the making to see Sarray as part of WWE, and here she is next week in action. We try and get a comment from William Regal about it, but he's got some business to deal with, so he goes off into his office where Roderick Strong is waiting with Marina Shafir, and Roddy hands Regal a brown envelope. Regal says, "You've been difficult, but you're always welcome back," and they shake hands. And with that, you've read it already in the news, no doubt, Roderick Strong has resigned from NXT. He doesn't want to be a part of the brand while the Undisputed Era is just this big mess. Does this lead to a call-up for Roderick Strong? I'm concerned. I talked about this on the news podcast this morning, which you can download wherever you get your podcasts from. And my instinct is saying he could do stuff on 205 Live, despite the fact that it's an NXT brand technically. I would be concerned that Roddy might get lost in the shuffle on Raw or SmackDown. If he had to go to one of the two, I'd hope SmackDown, where they do more of the wrestling. But we'll see. Roddy could be the first member of the Undisputed Era to get called up to the main roster. We'll see. Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott's in action next. This feud has been bubbling over for quite some time, and it feels like at this point it's coming to a head. Ruff starts off hot, Swerve slows it down and shuts it down. We get a really fun Catch Leon type spot where Leon's in the corner bouncing from one rope to the other and Swerve just can't get a purchase on him. That was cool. Ruff's got such great energy. Like, bottle that and you'll make a lot of money. Swerve works Ruff really, really well during the break of this, but a chop to the chest of Ruff just wakes him up and he comes alive again. He sends Scott packing, lands a dive outside the ring, lands a missile drop inside the ring. We see a gorgeous top rope Hurricane Rana from Ruff as well for a near fall. He goes for a second a little while later, but Swerve is able to dump him over the top of his head, and so Ruff lands head first onto the turnbuckle post. Shortly after this, Ruff gets dragged into the center of the ring where he gets hit with a full Nelson package driver type move. A full Nelson, half Nelson driver. I think that's what it is. Half Nelson driver. That's lost all meaning now. Half Nelson driver. 1, 2, 3. And Swerve wins the match. And this was an A-. Like, excellent work from both of them. Just beautiful chemistry between Swerve and Ruff. Swerve has really come into his own as a heel. Not just because he's now like a swaggering bad guy, but he's slowed down his moves and he's just got this aura about him that I didn't feel when he was doing the whole Swerve's house thing. Like, this feels more in his wheel Swerve house, if you will. Really like this. And Leon Ruff, loads of potential for Leon Ruff. I really like, they just got great chemistry together. I liked it a lot. Backstage, Zoe Stark is fixing to challenge for the NXT Women's Championship. She's interrupted by Mercedes Martinez, who refers to her as a rookie. They have a stare down. Expect these two to have a beefy power battle down the road very, very soon. Imperium promo next with Volta voicing it. He says that the group will indeed grow and the mat is still sacred. Timothy Thatcher's joining. I'm just saying. Swerve interviewed backstage. He's attacked by Leon Ruff, quite aggressively attacked by Leon Ruff here, and the medics and officials drag Leon Ruff away. This is far from done with these two. I quite like the edge that we got from Leon Ruff here, I did. And then we come to main event o'clock on our first Tuesday night of NXT. Dexter Lumis, Bronson Reed, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon teaming up to face The Way. Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory. Now, Indy and Dexter, there's a little thing there. There's a little attraction there. And Indy tries to stand near Dexter Lumis on the entrance as they get into the ring, but Candice pulls her away. Early in the match, Gargano gets bounced around by everybody. Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell share a little intense stare down, like a little romantic flicker, flutter. But Candice pulls her away once again, sparks flying between these two, it seems. Bronson wipes out Theory and Gargano after the break with a double Samoan drop. We see then loads of what I didn't think we'd see much of in wrestling ever again, certainly not in the WWE side of things, which is loads of intergender spots that work really, really well. So Candice goes to hits a dive on Bronson Reed, but because Bronson's massive, Candice just bounces off him. We see Ember dive onto Johnny Gargano outside the ring, which looked great. Candice LeRae hits a tornado DDT on Dexter Lumis outside, and Bronson, at the request of Shotzi Blackheart, throws Shotzi Blackheart onto everybody. It was ace. Lumis puts the silence onto Johnny Gargano, and Indy Hartwell gets into the ring, stops herself from attacking Dexter Lumis, and instead just plays dead. Lumis breaks the hold and goes to check on her. And then my brain is going, so she knows that Dexter fancies her, so she's going to play up to that. But then Austin Theory runs in as Lumis is distracted cradling Indy Hartwell. Theory runs in, cracks him in the back of the head, and Indy's livid about this, so she throws Austin Theory out of the ring and plays dead again. To which Dexter Lumis comes back over, picks up Indy Hartwell and carries her away. And Indy Hartwell, who has been playing dead this whole time, with the card camera looking at her, she looks straight down the lens and gives us a thumbs up. Indy Hartwell, the star of this match, is ace. So Lumis and Indy are gone. And the end of this match comes after Ember hits an eclipse off Bronson's shoulders onto Austin Theory. We see Candice attempt to superplex on Bronson Reed, which was a good attempt. Bronson doesn't drop her, but Shotzi comes in, electric chair drops Candice onto Gargano, and then Bronson follows up with the Tsunami for the 1, 2, 3. And Bronson Reed picks up the win for his team in an incredibly exciting 8-person intergender match, which I'm going to give an A- to. You know what? It was wild, it was busy, it was woolly, it was loads of fun, and some really creative stuff that mix up the men and the women's wrestling here. And this is what I meant at the beginning, where I said that they're setting the pace for the future in many ways. One thing that WWE gets called out about a lot is sort of why they don't even attempt to toy with sort of wrestling intergender stuff. And they did it here. And I thought the spots they came up with were very creative, very realistic, if you will. It's grown people pretending to hit each other in underpants. It's as realistic as it gets. And it features a dead man who pops up every 12 months. But it was as realistic as it should be. I liked the way it all mixed together. There were lots of stories told in this one. And I was entertained all the way through. And that's surely a big part of it. So, yeah, I'm giving it an A-. I'd be intrigued to know what you think of it. And you know what? Overall, NXT on a Tuesday night, I'm giving it an A- overall. I thought there was loads to love about this week's show. They really came flying out of the blocks for a Tuesday night, for the first Tuesday night in a while, the end of the Wednesday Night War, and we had a new champion crowned in a belter of a match. We had a lovely reuniting of classic NXT stars, and we had a really fun main event that sets the pace going forward. And I think NXT is going to be motoring. Now it's on a Tuesday. Now they're not suffering the slings and arrows of war. They can, as can AEW, they can focus on doing some storytelling that doesn't have to always counter program. They can do stuff they can create stars at their own pace once again. And I think that's a really exciting thing for NXT going forward. And as delighted as I was to to say goodbye to Raw Graded. I'm actually quite sad to say goodbye to NXT Graded. I know that we're all meant to pick sides in this Wednesday Night Raw, but I watched NXT on the weekly, and whilst AEW did put on some incredible shows and was very worthy of the majority of the nights that it won the ratings war, I have to say that NXT really continued to put on some great shows as well. It's like every takeover was great to excellent, and the two nights that we just had were again great to excellent as well. And I'm going to miss talking about it every week. Obviously, I'll stay up to date with it, and we'll keep you up to date via Cultaholic on the news, on the podcast, and everything else. But thank you for supporting NXT Graded. It's been a joy to do. I'll give some more thank yous to Andrew. Andrew, can you make a beaver appear holding a hockey stick? Thanks, mate. Andrew, can you make it rain crisps? Thanks, mate. Andrew, put your Twitter up there and put a link to your Twitch stream on a Monday night. Lovely guy. He puts all this together. I just talk into a camera and press stop and say, here's some bits for you to do. So big love to Andrew, and big love to you once again for supporting what we do here at Cultaholic. Some exciting new content very soon. And as I said when we made the initial announcement, when we can all be back in the room together, an exciting new live review show is coming very soon. So don't be sad that we're coming to an end on Graded, because I promise you good things are a coming. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.